The Last Stand. Commander Ilara Chen stood at the observation deck of Orbital Defense Station Aegis, Earth's last functioning military installation, her gaze fixed on the holographic display showing the approaching Kroloth Armada. 2 years of relentless war had reduced humanity from a thriving interstellar civilization spanning 47 worlds to a single besieged planet. Earth, humanity's cradle, now stood as their final bastion. "Status report," she demanded, her voice steady despite the weight of exhaustion. Lieutenant Marcus Reed approached, datapad in hand. "The evacuation transports have reached 83% capacity. Civilian casualties on the surface," he paused, swallowing hard, "are estimated at 1.2 billion since the orbital bombardment began." Ilara absorbed the information with a practiced stoicism that belied the churning in her gut. The Kroloth had emerged from the uncharted regions beyond the Perseus Arm 3 years ago, their technology vastly superior, their intentions brutally clear, the complete eradication of humanity. No demands, no communication, just methodical extermination. "And the Prometheus project?" she asked, lowering her voice. "Dr. Nakamura reports they're ready for final testing. But, Commander," Reed hesitated, "the odds of success are calculated at less than 8%. Ilara's lips quirked in a humorless smile. "When the alternative is extinction, even 1% sounds like favorable odds, wouldn't you agree?" The station shuddered violently, emergency klaxons blaring as the lights flickered. Ilara gripped the railing to steady herself. "Direct hit on level 4, sectors 7 through 9, announced the AI system. "Shields at 42% and failing." "They found us sooner than expected," Ilara muttered. "Initiate Protocol Omega. I'm heading to Prometheus." Striding through the corridors of the station, Ilara passed scenes of controlled chaos, military personnel rushing to battle stations, medical teams tending to the wounded, civilians clutching meager possessions as they were guided toward the remaining evacuation shuttles. The faces that turned toward her were hollow with fear, but sparked with recognition. They knew who she was, one of Earth's most decorated fleet commanders, now relegated to overseeing what might be humanity's final hours. The secure laboratory was buried deep within the station's core, protected by multiple security checkpoints. As Ilara entered, Dr. Yuki Nakamura looked up from her workstation, dark circles under her eyes testament to countless sleepless nights. "Commander," she acknowledged, gesturing toward the center of the lab where a peculiar device hovered within a containment field. "We've managed to decode the final activation sequence." The artifact was undeniably alien, a metallic sphere roughly 2 meters in diameter, covered in geometric patterns that seemed to shift subtly when viewed from different angles. It had been discovered 10 months ago in the ruins of a long-dead civilization on Proxima Centauri, Earth's closest extrasolar colony, before the Kroloth destroyed it. "And you're certain this is a weapon?" Ilara asked, circling the artifact. Dr. Nakamura shook her head. "Not exactly. Based on our translations of the Proximan glyphs, it's more like a key to something the ancient texts referred to as the Armory of the Precursors." Precursors? A civilization that predates all known galactic species by at least 2 million years, Nakamura explained. "The Proximans worshipped them as gods, but the evidence suggests they were physical beings with technology so advanced it might as well have been magic." Another violent tremor shook the station, more severe than the last. Consoles sparked, and emergency lighting kicked in. "Multiple hull breaches detected," announced the AI. "Evacuation protocols initiated. All personnel proceed to designated." The announcement cut off abruptly. "We're out of time," Ilara decided. "How do we use it?" "The artifact isn't meant to be used here," Nakamura replied, rapidly typing commands into her terminal. "According to our translations, it needs to be taken to a specific set of coordinates, a star system at the edge of the Scutum Centaurus arm." "That's nearly 15,000 light-years from here," Ilara protested. "Even with our fastest ships, it would take." "Not with this. Nakamura interrupted, nodding toward a sleek vessel docked in an adjacent hangar, visible through the reinforced viewing window. The Icarus. We've integrated what we learned from the artifact into its drive system. Theoretical maximum velocity is, well, we're not entirely sure, but it should get you there within days, not years. Ilara stared at the ship, its hull gleaming under the hangar lights. You said you, not us. Nakamura smiled sadly. Someone has to stay behind to ensure the station's defenses hold long enough for your departure. Besides, the ship only has room for a small crew. Before Ilara could argue, Admiral Haruki Yamamoto entered the lab, flanked by 2 security officers. Despite his 70 years, the Admiral carried himself with rigid military bearing, his weathered face a testament to decades of service. "Commander Chen," he greeted her. "I see Dr. Nakamura has briefed you on our last resort. Sir, with all due respect, this plan is desperate, reckless, a shot in the dark." The Admiral's voice was steady. "Yes, it is all those things, but the Security Council has unanimously approved it. As of this moment, you are relieved of your station duties and reassigned to Operation Lazarus. The mission parameters, sir. Take the artifact to the coordinates Dr. Nakamura has identified. Find whatever the precursors left behind, and bring back something, anything, that might save what's left of humanity." The Admiral handed her a data chip. "Your crew has been selected. They're waiting aboard the Icarus." Another explosion rocked the station, this one close enough to send dust raining from the ceiling. Krolov boarding parties detected on levels 2 and 3. The AI announced, its voice distorted. "Go, Commander," Admiral Yamamoto ordered. "That's an order." Ilara snapped to attention, offering a sharp salute. "Yes, sir." The next hour passed in a blur of activity. The artifact was carefully transferred to the Icarus's secure hold. Ilara met her hastily assembled crew, 5 specialists chosen for their unique skills rather than their combat experience. Dr. Raj Kapoor, Xenorchaeologist, Lieutenant Sophia Dias, Navigation Expert, Chief Engineer Quaim Ose, Dr. Marcus Reed, reassigned from his previous post, and Security Officer Zhenwu, a former Special Forces operative. As Ilara settled into the captain's chair of the Icarus, the viewport showed the chaotic battle raging around Earth. The planet's surface was scarred with impact craters, vast swathes of land burning. The once mighty Terran defense fleet had been reduced to scattered pockets of resistance, fighting with grim determination against the overwhelming Krolov force. "All systems online," reported Chief Osai from the engineering station. "The modified drive is stable, but I'm not making any promises once we activate it." "Coordinates locked in," added Lieutenant Dias. "Ready when you are, Commander." Ilara took one last look at Earth, perhaps her final glimpse of home. "Admiral Yamamoto, this is Commander Chen aboard the Icarus. We're prepared for departure." The Admiral's voice came through, distorted by interference. "Godspeed, Commander. The hopes of humanity go with you." As the Icarus detached from the docking bay, a nearby explosion illuminated the viewport with blinding light. Orbital Defense Station Aegis began to break apart, massive sections of its structure peeling away as Krolov energy weapons continued their relentless assault. "Admiral," Ilara called into the comm. Only static answered. "Krolov vessels approaching," warned Officer Wu from Tactical. 3 destroyers on an intercept course." "Initiate the drive," Ilara ordered, her knuckles white as she gripped the armrests of her chair. "Get us out of here." Lieutenant Dias's fingers flew across her console. The ship hummed with escalating energy as the modified drive powered up. The stars in the viewport began to elongate. "Drive at 80% capacity," reported Ose. 90%, 95%. The pursuing Krolov ships opened fire, energy beams slicing through space toward the Icarus. "Now, Lieutenant," Ilara commanded. The universe seemed to fold around them. For a heartbeat, Ilara felt as though she were simultaneously everywhere and nowhere, her consciousness stretched across infinite space. Then reality snapped back into focus and Earth, along with the Kroloth Armada, had vanished, replaced by unfamiliar stars. Status report. Ilara managed, fighting off a wave of nausea. All systems functional, Ose confirmed, sounding surprised. The drive performed, better than expected. Position, she asked Dias. The navigator stared at her readouts in disbelief. We're there, Commander. We've arrived at the coordinates. Through the viewport, a red giant star dominated the view, its bloated form casting a crimson glow across the bridge. Orbiting the dying star was a massive structure, clearly artificial, yet unlike anything human minds had conceived. It resembled a vast lattice of interconnected rings, stretching millions of kilometers across space. What is that? Breathed Dr. Kapoor, the xenorchaeologist, his eyes wide with wonder. Dr. Reed checked his readings. It matches the descriptions from the Proximan texts. This is it, the armory of the precursors. As the Icarus approached the colossal structure, automated defense systems suddenly sprang to life, ancient weapons locking onto the tiny vessel. Evasive maneuvers, Ilara shouted, but it was too late. The ship was caught in a tractor beam of immense power, drawn inexorably toward the heart of the precursor installation. Consoles sparked and systems failed as an overwhelming energy surge penetrated their shields. As darkness claimed the bridge, Ilara's last thought was of Earth, burning under the Kroloth onslaught. They had found the armory, but would they be able to unlock its secrets before humanity's flame was extinguished forever? The awakening. Consciousness returned to Ilara slowly, like swimming up from the depths of a dark ocean. Her eyelids felt leaden as she forced them open, blinking against the unfamiliar light. The bridge of the Icarus was silent, illuminated by an ambient glow that seemed to emanate from everywhere and nowhere at once. Status report, she croaked, her voice raspy from disuse. No response came from her crew. As her vision cleared, Ilara realized she was alone on the bridge. The ship's systems appeared to be powered down, yet the environmental controls were clearly functioning. She unstrapped herself from the captain's chair, muscles protesting after hours, or perhaps days, of immobility. Computer, locate crew members, she commanded. Nothing but silence answered. A soft chime sounded, and a section of the bulkhead that had previously been solid metal simply dissolved, revealing the corridor Ilara was certain hadn't existed before. With no other obvious course of action, she moved cautiously toward the opening, one hand on her sidearm. The corridor extended far beyond what should have been possible within the confines of the Icarus. The walls pulsed with subtle geometric patterns similar to those on the artifact. As Ilara advanced, she noticed the corridor wasn't straight but curved gently upward, as if she were walking along the interior of a vast ring. After what seemed like kilometers of walking, the corridor opened into an enormous chamber that defied comprehension. The ceiling soared hundreds of meters overhead, while the floor extended outward in all directions to distant walls that seemed to bend upward, creating the impression of standing inside a massive sphere. Floating throughout the chamber were countless holographic displays showing star systems, ship schematics, and symbols Ilara couldn't begin to decipher. In the center of the chamber stood her missing crew members, clustered around a pedestal that held the precursor artifact. They turned as one at her approach, their expressions a mixture of awe and disbelief. "Commander," Dr. Kapoor greeted her, his voice hushed with reverence. "You need to see this." As Ilara joined the group, she noticed that the artifact had transformed. No longer a simple sphere, it had unfolded like a blooming flower, revealing an intricate mechanism within. Floating above it was a holographic representation of what appeared to be a humanoid figure, composed entirely of golden light. "It activated as soon as we were brought inside the structure," explained Dr. Reed. "This is, well, we believe it's an interface." "An interface to what?" Ilara asked. The figure of light turned toward her, its featureless face somehow conveying attention. When it spoke, the words emerged directly in her mind, bypassing her ears entirely. I am custodian, the last active consciousness of those you call precursors. You have brought the key to the armory. State your purpose. Ilara stepped forward, instinctively straightening her posture. I am Commander Ilara Chen of Earth. My species, humanity, faces extinction at the hands of an aggressor known as the Kroloff. We came seeking the means to defend ourselves. The custodian was silent for a moment, as if processing her words. The Kroloff. Yes, we have encountered this species before, in the early days of their evolution. They were deemed too aggressive, too prone to violence. Observation protocols were established. Well, your observation protocols failed, Ilara replied, unable to keep the edge from her voice. They're systematically destroying human civilization. Billions are already dead. This was not anticipated. The custodian acknowledged. The Kroloff were contained within their home system, their advancement artificially limited. Someone has interfered with our safeguards. We don't have time for an investigation, Ilara pressed. Every moment we spend here, more humans die. The artifact, the key, led us to believe we would find weapons here. Something to help us fight back. The custodian's form rippled, as if in contemplation. The armory is not a repository of weapons, as you understand them. It is a sanctuary of knowledge and technology, the last legacy of the precursor civilization before our transcendence. Then there's nothing here that can help us, Ilara concluded, despair creeping into her voice. I did not say that. The custodian corrected. While we abandoned physical form eons ago, we maintain certain contingencies. Follow. The custodian's form flowed toward one of the chamber walls, which dissolved upon its approach. Beyond lay a view that drew gasps from even the most composed of Ilara's crew. They were looking out on a vast shipyard, extending as far as the eye could see. Countless vessels of varying sizes and configurations floated in perfect formation, a dormant fleet of staggering proportions. Unlike the organic, flowing designs of Kroloff ships, these craft were geometric and precise, their hulls covered in the same shifting patterns as the artifact. The Sentinel fleet, explained the custodian, created as our final act before abandoning the physical realm. Designed to activate should any species ever break containment and threaten galactic stability. Ilara stared at the fleet, hope kindling for the first time since the war began. Are they automated? They require consciousness to direct them, the custodian replied. In the absence of precursors, compatible organic minds may serve as temporary pilots. Compatible minds? Asked Lieutenant Diaz, speaking for the first time since Ilara had found them. Your species has been evaluated during your journey here. You possess sufficient neural complexity and adaptive cognition. You are acceptable substitutes. Dr. Reed stepped forward, his scientific curiosity overcoming his awe. How many ships are in this fleet? The primary battle group numbers 10,000 vessels. Support craft and autonomous units are significantly more numerous. Ilara's mind raced with the implications. The entire remaining human fleet numbered less than 50 ships. Even at their height, humanity had never fielded more than a few hundred warships. 10,000 vessels of precursor technology would be. How quickly can these ships be made ready? She asked. They are ready now, the custodian stated. They await only your command and the neural The Sentinel fleet departed the armory 6 hours and 12 minutes after Ilara had regained consciousness. The journey to the coordinates from Admiral Yamamoto's transmission took precisely 5 hours and 47 minutes, a distance that would have required decades to traverse with human technology. They emerged from faster-than-light travel to find a desperate scene. Approximately 200 human evacuation ships, a ragtag collection of colony vessels, retrofitted cargo haulers, and the few remaining military craft were gathered in a defensive formation. Bearing down on them was the main Kroloff armada, Over 500 warships, their weapon systems charging for the final assault that would erase humanity from the galaxy. Neither side immediately noticed the arrival of the Sentinel fleet, deployed in a vast spherical formation that encompassed both human refugees and Kroloth warships alike. Ilara opened a communication channel to the Resilience. "Admiral Yamamoto, this is Commander Chen. Please acknowledge." A moment of silence. Then, "Commander Chen, how? We thought you were lost with Earth." "Not lost, sir, just delayed. Request you order all human vessels to power down weapons and maintain position. We'll handle the Kroloth from here." Before Yamamoto could respond, the Kroloth fleet detected the precursor vessels. Their neat formation dissolved as they pivoted to face this new, unexpected threat. "All ships, offensive pattern Sigma," Ilara commanded, the order transmitted instantly through the neural network to all 10,000 vessels. The battle, if it could be called that, lasted less than 20 minutes. The Kroloth weapons, so devastating against human defenses, barely registered against precursor shields. The Sentinel fleet's response was measured but overwhelming. No ship was destroyed outright. Instead, propulsion systems were targeted with surgical precision, leaving the Kroloth fleet dead in space. When the last Kroloth warship had been neutralized, Ilara opened a communication channel to their flagship. "This is Commander Ilara Chen, acting commander of the precursor Sentinel fleet. Your campaign of extermination against humanity ends today." The viewer displayed a Kroloth commander, an imposing figure with chitinous armor and compound eyes that reflected the light in faceted patterns. "What trickery is this?" the Kroloth demanded. "No human technology could defeat our fleet." "You're right," Ilara agreed. "This isn't human technology, but it is under human control. Here are our terms: immediate cessation of all hostilities against human worlds and settlements, withdrawal to your pre-war boundaries, reparations for the worlds you've destroyed, to be negotiated at a later date." "The Kroloth Empire does not surrender," the commander snarled. "This isn't a request for surrender," Ilara corrected. "It's an opportunity to survive. The fleet you see represents less than 1% of the forces we can bring to bear." A bluff, but the Kroloth had no way of knowing that. "Your choice is simple: peace or extinction." Hours of tense negotiation followed, but the outcome was never really in doubt. With their fleet immobilized and facing technology they couldn't hope to counter, the Kroloth reluctantly agreed to Ilara's terms. In the days that followed, humanity began the long process of rebuilding. The Sentinel fleet secured the safety of the remaining human population, while exploration vessels were dispatched to assess the damage to former colony worlds. Earth itself was a barren wasteland, its surface rendered uninhabitable by Kroloth bombardment. Yet even this tragedy held a seed of hope. With precursor technology, the process of terraforming, which would have taken centuries with human methods, could potentially restore Earth within decades. 1 month after the decisive battle, Ilara stood on the observation deck of the Redemption, gazing at the stars. Admiral Yamamoto joined her, his uniform now bearing the insignia of the newly formed Human Precursor Alliance. "The custodian has confirmed it," he informed her. "The neural integration can be maintained indefinitely without harm. The Sentinel fleet is permanently under human control." And the Kroloth, honoring the treaty, so far. "Our intelligence suggests there's significant internal conflict over their defeat. Their society was built on the assumption of their inevitable dominance." Ilara nodded, her thoughts turning to the future. With precursor technology, humanity would rebuild faster and stronger than ever before. The knowledge contained within the armory would advance human understanding by millennia. And with the Sentinel fleet securing their borders, they would never again face extinction at the hands of an aggressor. "We should establish diplomatic relations with other species," she suggested. "The custodian has provided data on dozens of spacefaring civilizations within reach of our new drive systems." "Agreed," said Yamamoto. "Though I suspect many of them will be rather surprised when humans show up in precursor vessels." Ilara smiled at the thought. Humanity had been on the brink of extinction. Now they were poised to become one of the dominant forces in the galaxy, not through conquest or aggression, but as inheritors and custodians of the most advanced technology known to exist. No one expected resistance, she murmured, recalling the Kroloff commander's shock. No one expected humanity to survive, let alone prevail. No one expected a lot of things, Yamamoto replied. Least of all that humanity's darkest hour would lead to its greatest opportunity. As the redemption accelerated toward the coordinates of the nearest potentially habitable world, Ilara felt a sense of purpose stronger than any she had known before. Humanity had survived its trial by fire. The universe awaited.